Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Season 5 Episode 7 of Fear the Walking Dead. As always is the norm in my videos, this will contain full spoilers, so consider yourself warned. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. You all know what I'm going to say, so let's just cut to the chase. This was another bad episode of Fear the Walking Dead. Granted, I don't think it was as bad as the last couple of installments, but it was still pretty bad. It was basically 45 minutes of characters helping out other characters who I don't care about, whilst other characters fix the plane. I would have rather just watched the 45-minute episode of Daniel Salazar sitting in his chair stroking his cat. In its simplest form, the plot of Season 5A of Fear the Walking Dead boils down to this one sentence. Characters crash plane, characters have to fix plane. That's it. Someone genuinely walked into the AMC boardroom and pitched this one sentence as the basis for half a season, that being 8 episodes, and everyone sitting around the table went, yep, that's fantastic, let's do it. Let's have 8 episodes of people fixing a plane. That's what the viewers want to see. Brilliant. AMC, you morons, what have you done? I mean, if the pacing to the show was any slower, we'd end up going back in time. It's just ridiculous. We're nearly at the halfway stage of the season and next to nothing has happened. But anyway, enough about that. I'm going to talk about that more in a separate video. Let's talk about the episode itself. So the threat of radiation is back, the radioactive walkers have returned, and we see Morgan wandering around the radioactive area as he attempts to find Grace. Now, the idea of radioactive dead and a radioactive area itself is actually quite intriguing, but I just don't understand the rules that the show is trying to play by with these two scenarios. Morgan says over the radio that you mustn't get any of the blood on you from one of the contaminated walkers, but why is it just the blood that can contaminate people? Surely wouldn't just being in their presence be enough to get hit with radiation? And also, how does Morgan just roam around the radioactive area in his normal clothes without, dying? I mean, granted, he does get like a hazmat bio suit on later on in the episode, but prior to that he is just wandering around in his normal clothes, because Grace even says to him on the radio, Morgan, you shouldn't be here. So how does this make any sense? Maybe his Aikido training has given him superpowers and he's immune to radiation, I don't know. Whilst Morgan might be immune to radiation, one person who will likely suffer the effects of it is Alicia, as she ends up with her face covered in contaminated blood come the end of the episode. However, as I just mentioned, given that nothing has happened to Morgan yet, there is still hope that she will live. However, all the signs do seem to be pointing towards her dying in the mid-season finale. And if she does bite the dust, well, in my opinion, that's just going to be the final nail in the coffin for those who have stuck with the show since the beginning. Although in my opinion, Alicia's character has been ruined like pretty much every other character on the show since the start of Season 7, she does remain a hugely popular character, and she's the last of the Clarks and the last real remaining link to the show of old. Yes, of course, I know that Lucy, Strand and Daniel are all still alive, but Lucy hasn't really done anything this season. I mean, basically, all Danny Garcia has had to do at playing her this season is just hold her arm in a cast, that's it. I mean, I can imagine her reaction when she saw the script and it just said, yeah, all you're going to do is hold your arm up for 8 episodes. Think you can do that? Strand is a character who makes me want to read a dictionary every time he's on screen because he just spouts a lot of nonsense. And Daniel, well, he comes and goes like my absentee father. Alicia then is really the last remaining OG character left, and her death would be a big screw you to everyone who's stuck with the show. And if she does die next week, well, her death is going to be just as unsatisfying as Nick's. Basically, Alicia would have been on this show for 5 seasons, and would have died saving some bratty kids that no one cares about and who don't deserve saving. Truly fantastic writing. For all the talk we've had from Morgan about how they need to help people, it's basically just only ended up with our characters getting in trouble. If they hadn't have left the factory, they wouldn't have lost their camp, they wouldn't have crashed the plane, and Alicia wouldn't be dying. Everyone knows that I can't stand the whole let's go save everyone mentality that all the characters have taken on since Morgan's come over, and that's because, well, apart from the fact that watching a show centered around a bunch of happy-go-lucky, deluded characters is annoying, it also just means our characters end up getting into situations where they get hurt which they could have easily avoided. And that's what Fear the Walking Dead's characters do. They've gone from being seasoned survivors to absolute morons in the space of 2 seasons. And if Alicia Devon Carey does want off the show and that's the reason they've decided to kill her, then I really can't blame her. I mean, it must be painful reading the script and seeing lines such as, I have to make up for what I've done, without even knowing what the hell that's actually referring to. I mean, what does Alicia have to make up for? All she's done is protect her family. The only person that I even remember her killing is that wanker from last season who just sat outside the baseball stadium and didn't really do anything. I can't remember his name because he was so forgettable. But if that's what the writers think she has to make up for, then they must have brain tumours because he deserved to die. Alicia has absolutely nothing to make up for. The only two people who have stuff to make up for are the two showrunners, Andrew Chambers and Ian Goldberg. These two are the current showrunners of Fear the Walking Dead and have been since season 4, and to me their destruction of this show is on par with how D&D ruined season 8 of Game of Thrones. They're bad showrunners, simple as that, and I have no idea why AMC decided to let them stay on for season 5 after the absolute mess that was season 4. Anyway, I mentioned the awful dialogue a moment ago, and surprise, surprise, Morgan gets a whole bunch of stinkers again this episode.
Everything gets a return. We are exactly where we need to be. We're gonna finally start living, Alicia.
Bloody hell, I bet the rest of the residents of Alexandria had a party when he left, because then they wouldn't have to put up with his bloody bullshit anymore. I mean, there's a reason why no one in season 9 of The Walking Dead has even made a passing reference to Morgan, and that's because they're all glad he's gone. In all seriousness, I do feel kind of sorry for Lenny James because he's a fantastic actor. I mean, just look at The Walking Dead's debut and look at his performance in Clear, and that just shows what he can do with a decent script. But here he is just spouting cliche crap and doing weird mock airline commercials for some reason.
And welcome on board. For your safety and comfort, please pay close attention as we demonstrate the safety features of this aircraft. I'm assuming it's been a while since you've been on a plane. We know you don't really have a choice. But on behalf of everybody, thank you and have a safe flight.
Anyway, moving on, just like last week, the only part of this episode that was just about watchable were the scenes that focused on John and Dwight. I did predict that John would take his sweet ass time in revealing Sherry's letter to Dwight, and that's basically because, well, Fear the Walking Dead takes its time with everything. The pacing is so slow, so I was actually quite nicely surprised that he told him about it this episode. I also like that Dwight didn't go crazy as soon as he found out the news. Instead, he just got out of the truck as quick as he could because he didn't know what to do anymore. To me, it was one of the most human reactions that I've seen on a show that now seems to be full of robots. I have to be honest though, I wasn't a fan of how almost 10 minutes later Dwight decided that because he had one negative letter from Sherry, he was going to give up looking for her and suddenly devote his life to helping John help other people. Now, I don't for a minute believe that Dwight would give up after everything he's done just because he got a letter saying that Sherry didn't want to see him anymore. You know, in his mind, I think he would have thought that there was another reason why she was doing this. Maybe she was in danger, maybe someone forced her to do it. And I think he would have at least actually tried to find her and talk to her and ask her why she felt that way. To me, this just seems like quite a cheap way of the writers trying to shoehorn in why Dwight would decide to stay with the Fear cast instead of continuing looking for Sherry. Anyway, that's pretty much it, but before I go, there are two things that I quickly want to mention. So firstly, can anyone tell me where the hell Wendell and Sarah are? I mean, I don't really see what the point was in introducing them last season for them just to be extras this season and not be in half the episodes. And secondly, can someone please tell me if a hot air balloon, or well, the actual material that it's made of, is enough to prevent walkers scratching, clawing and biting their way through? Now, I was hesitant to include this as a criticism because I imagine that hot air balloons need to be made of quite strong stuff, otherwise you could be flying and get a bird crash into the material and then it bursts and you're basically dead. So maybe it can protect the walkers, I don't know. This is more out of me being curious than actually saying it's something stupid with the show, so yeah, please let me know. And that's it, no big wordy conclusions needed from me. It was just another bad episode in what's been a very bad season. I do think that if Alicia does die next week, then Fear the Walking Dead is going to be on life support, and unless it can pull out something unbelievable in season 5B, then I don't think this show is going to last for much longer. But there you go, that's my thoughts. Let me know what yours are below. Do you agree with me? Or did you actually like this episode? And if you did, then please let me know why. And let me know if you're excited for next week, or if you're like me, you're absolutely dreading having to watch another episode. But anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching. And like I alluded to in this video earlier, there will be another Fear video coming soon, which will talk about sort of the half season as a whole and some of my complaints with it. and hopefully that'll get done by the end of the week. But anyway, thank you all for watching. See you later. Bye.